Happy Monday, everybody. Good to see you here. Good to see you. I don't know. I can't see you. You can see me. The only way I do know if you're here is if you make a comment or click the like or button or something like that to let me know that you were here on this Monday. Happy Monday. It's always Happy Monday around here. I know Mondays. Oh, bah humbug or something like I don't know. Did I just say bah humbug? Did I just make a reference to Christmas? Is that bad? I hope whatever you're doing, it is a happy Monday. And kudos to Mother Nature. It's 18 degrees outside as I do this broadcast here today. I don't know if it's going to stay like that or not. Mother Nature's, let's see, because it was like yesterday. Let's do the weather on the show. It's 19 degrees out. And then it's supposed to drop to like 8 degrees and 11 and then back up. I don't know. It's not summer. I think we get confused sometimes. Pardon me. When the weather, oh my goodness, when the weather stops putting snow on the ground and then we get a warm day, we go, oh, summertime's here. No, it's spring. It's spring. So we're still supposed to have some rain and showers. April showers, spring, May flowers. Is that how it goes? I don't know if that's still actually true or not because of the way Mother Nature has been over the last few. I was talking about the weather with somebody the other day. You just talk about the weather. I was out in a coffee shop. We were talking about the weather. And the guy said, Burr, it's cold out there. I said, really? It's springtime. It's above zero. And there's no snow on the ground. Anyway, Southwestern Ontario, if you don't like the weather, wait 30 minutes. It'll change. Anyway, hope you had a good weekend. Did you get out and at least enjoy some things here in Sarnia, Lambton? A ton of things going on, as there always is. I repeat myself a lot, I know, but that's because there is a lot to do in Sarnia, Lambton. This past weekend, very excited to once again have been a part of Sarnia Sings. Let's put it up on the screen. It deserves that amount of attention. Sarnia Sings happened this past Thursday. What an outstanding cast of performers, if you can see that up there on your screen. Marilyn Gladue, or MP Marilyn Gladue, joined the entertainment and fun as well. She sang Blue and wore a lovely blue dress. There's one thing I can say about Marilyn Gladue. She has a fantastic sense of humor, which I guess it probably comes in handy if you're in politics, having a sense of humor. Because what was that? She did that, was it last year, a couple of years ago? She dressed up as the Grim Reaper. Got lots of attention there. And then she came out here and sang Blue. I will say, for her sake, she had a Justin Trudeau calendar that night, and anyway, it didn't get shown, but she has a fantastic sense of humor. So thank you, Marilyn. Let me go back to that picture again. Who else is in there? Let's see. Michael Van Hevel was there. Maya Perkins. She's 9 or 10 years older. She's really young anyway. She'd come out there and sang Shania Twain Up. Killed it, and it was fantastic. Sold out capacity, 600, I think it was like 625 people in the building, and fantastic. Some from last year that sang duets, and a lot of new performers, and we're already looking for new performers to come and join us next year. They're already knocking on the door saying, I want to be a part of Sarnia Sings. Who doesn't want to be a part of something great? Adam Dumont deserves a lot of kudos for starting this and having this vision. About 4 years ago, he got the vision. He went away on a trip to Las Vegas and discovered something similar and thought, why don't we do this? And 3 years ago, Sarnia Sings was born, supporting mental health awareness and suicide prevention. Fantastic idea. Already making plans for next year. We are. It's another one in the books, sold out. And Danielle Catton, who was known to us before as Daniel Cooper, she's married now. She came back again And she shared, as some others did too, but special note to Danielle for sharing a personal story on her battles with mental health. So thank you, Danielle. Thanks to everybody who bought a ticket. Hope you'll come back next year. This is going to be one of those things where if you don't get the tickets early, not going to happen. Sold out. This thing only had about 25 tickets left about a month before it happened. There you go. Singing was a part of my weekend for sure, as I was the MC of Sarnia Sings. And then Lake Point Grill House and Restaurant. Do you know where that is in Sarnia? Formerly the Chipican Restaurant down on Christina Street down by Michigan. And they've changed it all inside there. It's fantastic. It's very nice in there. Food was great. And we did karaoke on a Saturday afternoon from 2 to 5. We had a lot of fun. You can see there's my buddy Fred. My friend Domingos Fernandez. He was there as well. Maya showed up. Rob Rook's in there. Of course, my Jenny Moons. Scott Jackson, Rob Rogers, and John. We had lots of people in there. It was fantastic fun. Thanks to Lake Point Grill House for having us. They're not doing the entertainment on Saturdays for a little while, just because of the summer. But starting this coming weekend, every Friday and Saturday night, 7:30 to 10:30, they will have live entertainment in there. I'll be back there doing some karaoke. So I don't do karaoke a lot anymore. I can't seem to get away from it. You know, it's fun. Jennifer runs it most of the time on Sunday afternoons at Rock and Roll, but I was there yesterday because she said she was taking the day off. So we had fun out there. There's Tom. I hadn't seen Tom in a long time, so it was fantastic to see him be there joining us. Jane's there as well. So karaoke, I just can't. I try to get out, they pull me back in. What's that? Godfather 3. There you go. The tall ships are coming to town. I talk about this a lot because, well, I'm going to be a part of it. I'll be on the tall ships. I'll be behind the scenes. Artscape by the Bay and Blue Water Border Fest, all collaborating together with the tall ships, thanks to the Carpenters Union, as well as Imperial Sarnia site for their huge support. And I might add, pardon me, a lot of community support sponsors in there. Those are the main two, the titles, right? Thousands of tickets. They're going to have a problem. They're going to have too many people. That's what I'm seeing. It's a good problem to have, eh? It'll be handled, I'm sure. Rob Hardwood, Director of Parks and Recreation, I was talking to him the other day, and he's like, wow, we were so overwhelmed with the support of the community. Pardon me, I'm really struggling today. Not just this community, but many other communities traveling from all over Canada through the United States, making their vacation plans to be here for the tall ships. So excited for that. Go online to tallshipssarnia.com. You can get your tickets there for that. Great entertainment coming up this weekend as well. Oh, I wanted to mention, I did want to mention something. Let me just go back. I don't have, well, we'll leave that up there. So today I go to my mailbox. I open the door and there's a package that I've been waiting for. It's just sitting inside my door. And I pick it up and I could tell by the feel of it. Oh yeah, I've been waiting for that. It's something I ordered and I forgot I ordered. And then it showed up. And right on it, it's on my Facebook page if you want to take a look after the show. And somebody wrote on it, great job at Sarnia Sings. So I don't know who it is. I think I've figured it out, maybe. Somebody was there, obviously. But what a cool thing. You go to the door and you get a personal note from your delivery person saying great job at Sarnia Sings. So I was like, hey, that's cool. Made my day. So whoever you are, I think I know who you are. But whoever you are, thank you so much for making my day. Roundhouse. Haven't seen these guys in a while. I haven't had a chance to get out and see them, but you can get out and see them. I'm hoping to this weekend to see them at Patty Flaherty's. They're growing up, these young fellas, and they're still rocking places everywhere. And they'll be playing throughout the summer as well. But you can check them out this May the 11th. That's Saturday, right? Boy. I can't keep track of my days except my Mondays. I know when Monday. Yeah, it's this Saturday. So there you go. Patty Flaherty's Roundhouse. I'm going to try to get down there and see. I haven't seen it in a while. We had him on here a little while ago, the Chris Molyneux Jazz Trio. Chris Molyneux joined us to talk about his group, the Chris Molyneux Jazz Trio. And coming up, Mother's Day. Don't forget, I'm knocking hard on wood here. Mother's Day. Never forget your mother. If you forget Mother's Day once, you'll never forget it again. I'll tell you that. Just saying. So Mother's Day out at the Refined Fool. Once you're done hanging with mom, or maybe mom's capable, you can still get her out there. Take her to the Refined Fool Midtown for Mother's Day fun. And the Chris Molyneux Jazz Trio going to be there as well. I always get nervous when my first guest hasn't shown up yet. I went through this last week. So I'm just going to check in. I ain't going to tell you who it is. Well, you can probably find out who it is. And let's see if he's ready. He might be just giving me a hard time. I can find lots to talk about until he shows up. I'm creeping his Facebook page right now. Jay Peckham's supposed to be here. And he's going to talk about St. Francis Advocates and their golf tournament that's coming up. If he shows up. Coming up a little bit later as well. Some students from Lambton College Esports students. Oh, that esports thing? Yeah, they're going to be on ESPN. The esports industry, $1 billion industry right now, on track to be a trillion with a T, $1 trillion industry. What about video games? Well, there's a little bit more to it than video games. That's a big part of it for sure. It's a big competitive spirit out there with Fortnite, Rocket League, Street Fighter, and lots of other stuff as well that we'll talk about when that's coming up. And also coming up a little bit later on, Stephen McKenna. He's the grandson to Patrick Irwin, who is the 10th Chief Justice of Canada. He's written a book called Grace and Wisdom, and he'll be here to talk about that coming up a little bit later on in the show as well. Jay Peckham, where are you? A couple more things coming up as well. I talked about this for the Inn of the Good Shepherd. On June the 13th, you're invited to be a part of the Surf and Turf, their 10-year anniversary for doing this. It'll be at the Holiday Inn. You get tickets for this. They're $99. And I didn't get to go last year. Why didn't I go? Who went? Oh, Jennifer went instead. She got to go. And she's not even a big fan of seafood. She went and had a good time. And, of course, she was happy, too, because she was supporting the Inn of the Good Shepherd. So that was pretty awesome. So you can go get your tickets for that. Go to the insarnia.ca. All right. I'm going to go check in on my guest, and we'll be right back. Stay with me. All right, I found my guest. I should just leave him in the lobby. I can't hear him. I can't hear what you're saying. So you just say whatever you want about me, and I'm just going to make you wait because you made me wait. He's throwing stuff. Jay Peckham, boy, in the house. What are you doing to me? You just want to like, oh, let's make Dave's heart go thump thump.
You know, it's all about making a grand entrance, right? Isn't that the deal, Dave?
Not with Jay Peckham.
If it's not dramatic, what's the point?
About me.
I totally did not. It's been work has been one of those lunacy. It's crazy day today. So you know what? You're right. Okay, I'll admit it. I completely forgot about you. And all right, mea culpa.
I forgot all about you. And I watched and I said, oh crap, I'm supposed to be on that show with David Burrows.
Some reason it sounds so bad when you say it. When I say it, it's not that bad. I don't know.
It's believable when I say it. Thanks for being here, buddy. How you been?
I've been good. I've been crazy busy. There's a lot going on in my life. As always, I mean, you're well aware of the million things that I have on the go, but so it's been busy, but it's been terrific at the same time.
Yeah. How's the family doing?
Doing well. Emily's home for the summer, which is great. She's just finished her third year at Laurier University. Yep. My youngest, Nicholas, is off in at Muskoka Woods this week, which is an amazing program with the school system where it's leadership training up in the North Woods there, which is terrific. It's an amazing program. If you get a chance, check it out. Muskoka Woods, support that. And Jack, well, Jack is just busy trying to find a job for the summer, just something a little more. Yeah. I'll put the shout out for Jack. Anybody who's looking for a strapping young 19-year-old guy to do some work for the summer, he's definitely looking.
Mine too.
Yeah, but he's making plans. It looks like he's off to Conestoga next September, taking a course that will set him up for architectural design and draft and construction. So that's kind of where he wants to go, which is terrific. I'm excited for him.
It's an interesting time in a young person's life right now.
100%. My kids are they're great. They're having fun.
Folks watching, this is Jay Peckham, and I'm sorry if we've forgotten about you. We're just kind of talking about personal stuff and whatever. And,
we got to catch up. It's been a while. We don't have sting season at the moment. I mean, what are we going to do?
We'll have to go revisit Brownstones. They always treat us good down there.
100%. We'll have to go for sure.
Well, welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you.
I know, as busy as you are, you're part of St. Francis Advocates.
Correct.
Dedicated to making a difference, and that's in assistance to people with autism and other
developmental disabilities.
Developmental disabilities. I must say that.
Yep.
Give everybody. I'm pretty aware of what it is, but just kind of share everybody the background of the organization.
So we started, it's got to be close to 30 years now ago, with a location in Petrolia, where we basically have a house, and it's actually on a farm location, and we opened up and started supporting a group of people that lived there. And it's 24/7 supports. So while we really do look at it, this is their home, and what we do as an organization is we staff that home, because the people that are there need supports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 300. We just can't stop. So that's essentially what we do, is we prepare the appropriate staff members, people with the right skill sets, and we put them in, we schedule them in those homes to support the people that live there. And these are people who either can't support themselves or require some level of support. And it's significant enough, their challenges are significant enough to need it 24/7. So we do our best to interact with their communities and help them. Well, many of the people we support also work, and we support them when they're out in the community and at work, and doing all of the other things that one would normally do in their daily life, going to doctor's appointments and visiting family and all those sorts of things. And so we do that. And right now we've grown in the 30 years. We've grown. We are now 12 locations. Yeah, we go all the way from Port Franks in the north end of Lambton County, and we go all the way to Harrow in the south end of Essex. So we have 12 locations. What's that?
That's quite a territory.
It is. And all of our locations are very rural. And I think that's why, so we have a lot of sister agencies that do very similar things to us. Community Living and Christian Horizons and Augo in London. But there's a number of organizations that do similar things to us. And they tend to be in the more urban centers. All of our locations are kind of rural, like Forest and Port Franks and Thetford and Arcona, and then down in Woodsley and Mill River and those kinds of places.
Right. Okay. So, wow, that's a lot. And I'm just going to acknowledge some people watching. Corinder's out there. You're watching live, Corinder. It's not the replay. And he's asking, how do you start your business? So he didn't catch the first part, but
Yep.
And Corinder, we'll share some links to St. Francis Advocates after the show, during the show as well. So
Perfect.
all this stuff is all going on. This has got to take, like everything else. Money isn't everything, but it's kind of up there with oxygen.
Yeah, and you know what? So the gig is that we are 100. We're funded by the Ministry of Children and Community and Children, Community, and Social Services.
Right.
And it's MCCSS, I think, is now. It was a rename or whatever. But anyway, we're supported by the ministry, who gives us our primary funding. But I mean, as you can imagine, any government funding is usually just enough to make. What's that?
They do that still?
We are fortunate in we've managed to keep it so that we can do what we do with the ministry funding. But what we're finding is that, so I mean, let me give you the example, Dave. Yeah. There are things that you and I, as arguably fully unchallenged individuals, there are a lot of things that we take for granted. Like if we just turned around and decided we wanted to go catch a Jays game, you know what? We'd be online, we'd order tickets, we'd get in a car, we'd go down there, beers and pizza and the whole 9 yards. When you've got someone who has more unique challenges with physical or developmental issues, that it's not easy to come by those things, right? And so we as support people are constantly trying to find goals that, because everyone is a person and everyone has inalienable rights to do what they choose, in their home and in their communities and that sort of thing. And those are the level of supports that we want to be able to provide. But the ministry, those fundings, they cover things like, room and a roof over their head and food in their tummies and stuff like that, and the basics, right? But to go above and beyond, there's not a lot of funding for those kinds of things. So unfortunately, in this sector, a lot of people being supported in this way, they don't get those extra things. They don't get to reach their goals that you and I will generally take for granted. So we as an agency recognize that, and we want to be able to make as much of a positive difference in the lives of the people we support. And so we need the funds to go that extra mile and to do those extra things and to realize, sort of the hopes and dreams of the people that we're supporting. And so that's where additional funds really, really come in handy. And so that's the goal really of our fundraising. And generally speaking, that's the goal of our fundraising.
Well, that's the biggest challenge for any nonprofit. I interview lots of nonprofit organizations.
For sure.
At the end of the day, it's all that we need money, and some are 100% funded by themselves, and even when the ones with the government, it's limited.
Yeah, 100%.
We're seeing more and more of that with our.
And they're scaling back. We're struggling right now because we're not even quite sure for our current fiscal year sort of what we're getting. I know because the current government is a bit in flux, and they haven't sort of solidified their plans for the next year.
You're being nice, Peckham.
What's that?
You're being nice when you say that.
Well, you know what? There's no point in not being nice about it.
for a lot of people, right?
The reality is what the reality is, and we're trying to make do as best we can with what we have. And we're really looking to, the people who support us, who support our agency, to kind of step up and help us out. And so at this point, we run two fundraising events a year at the moment. Traditionally, we have our golf tournament, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And we also have a pasta supper that we do usually more into the fall and stuff like that. But coming up, we have our 13th annual charity golf tournament. This year, we're being hosted by Oakwood Resort in Grand Bend, which is terrific. I want to shout out to my buddy Jeff Pacheco, who's really come through for us this year in terms of doing everything he can to make this an outstanding event.
First question I have about the golf tournament.
Yes, sir.
Do I have to be any good?
Not even remotely.
Now,
your money is just as good as everybody else's, Dave, I got to say.
Okay, but here's the next question.
Okay, sure.
Do I got to be good if I want to be on your team?
We'll talk. We'll talk. There is room to have that discussion.
Because Dave Peckham's not competitive.
You know what? Well, exactly. You know what? Typically, I haven't won this tournament. I've done fairly well for myself, and now that I've leaned myself down by 27 pounds, I am going to be a force to be reckoned with this year. You mark my word.
There's such a thing as like I don't even know anything about handicaps, like minus 50 or something. Like, is that?
No, that's not even remotely. You know what? I wouldn't even.
100 on 9 holes.
Dave, the truth is, I'm not sure what I do could actually be called golf.
Right.
I can tell you that I have been known to take a stick and chase a little white ball around a very big green place before. Right. But whether that's golf or not, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
So this is coming up June the 13th. This is happening, right?
June 21st, brother. June 21st.
21st. Sorry. What did I say? 13th.
13th. Yeah, no, it's June 21st.
What's the cost and how do people get into this?
Yep. So the cost is, I think now you're asking me questions that I was completely unprepared for. Give me 1 second. Let me just, because I want to say it's 110 a golfer. Sure. Right. So it's $440 for a team, and for $500, we're giving sponsors a chance to sponsor a hole for $500. And then we're also looking for sponsorships that go on up and beyond that. Wow.
Sounds like a lot of fun, though.
It's incredible, and it's a great day and a terrific course. If you've never golfed at Oakwood before, it's a nice, sprawling, well-treed, very well-developed golf course, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And we have a steak dinner that's included, and we'll have a silent auction and a 50-50 draw, and we'll have lots of prizes. There's a closest to the keg. Typically, we also have a hole-in-one contest where, for $10, you take your shot, and if you get it in the hole, last year, our friends at Automax put up a 2014 black Corvette convertible as the prize for our hole-in-one contest. And man, I got to drive it to and from. Thanks, Georgie at Automax. It was a ton of fun. What an amazing car that would be to have. But we're gonna go. We haven't kind of nailed down the details, but we're kind of hoping that Automax will come back and have something equally exciting for us this year. We'll see what happens.
Maybe I could come out and just be. I could go live.
100%, brother. Yeah, you can come out. Absolutely. We would love to have you.
Anything about golf, but I could talk about it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's fun.
Trees out there, because if there's not a lot of trees, I might be okay.
There's a lot of trees. There's a few hazards. Yeah, there's a few.
I'll bring
water. Water is my worst enemy. I'll tell you that. But it's a ton of fun. I mean, we've had the best dressed team every year, which is a ton of fun. If you check through some of the pictures online, we had Hawaiian guys. We had people come dressed up as Super Mario Brothers characters before. Yeah, we've had all kinds of fun. Superheroes. Yeah, it's been a ton of fun. So
this would be the year for that, right? With we just had Captain. Was it Captain?
Absolutely, Endgame. Just Infinity War.
Don't talk about Endgame. La 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 la.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying a word yet. I've seen it, but I'm not saying a word.
My son came home and he had tears in his eyes, so I'm like,
oh yeah. I've heard that about him. It's all good though.
Well,
it's all good.
Sounds like you're going to have a good time out there, and it's going to come. This is the 13th annual.
This is the 13th annual, and we're really hoping to break. We were really close to our goal last year of $15,000. I think we want to break it this year, and I think we're really well set up. We've got some great sponsors already. The Blue Water Power group of companies has already signed on to sponsor us. The University Pharmacy out of Western University, and Al Jawaji there is another big supporter of us, and has been for many, many years, which is terrific. We really thank him for that. But so we've got a lot of key sponsors already coming out and stepping up to the plate for us. So we're expecting it's going to be another good tournament. We have typically we expect about 100 golfers. I'm expecting probably 120 this year, which I think is going to be really exciting. We're looking forward to selling the place out.
Good stuff. Well, Jay, thanks for eventually showing up here.
Well, I got my 15 minutes of fame in, didn't I?
You did. And let's get to Brownstones and solve the world's problems down there.
Oh, absolutely. I am so there, brother. I miss you. The Sting season can't come soon enough.
Right on.
Are we back at it this year?
Burrows? Brownstones.
We'll talk about it at Brownstones. Perfect.
Okay. He tried to get me on the hook on video, and I'm like, no, that ain't working, buddy. Jay Peckham does a lot of things, but he's busy at St. Francis Advocates getting ready for their 13th annual their charity golf tournament to support them. You can find out more. I see Corinder out there was asking as well. There's their website, mysfa.org. You can go find out more about St. Francis and register online there. And if you want to make a new friend, Jay Peckham, that's his name. Just go find him on Facebook, spam him, all kinds of stuff. We'll post all the links to everything we're talking about here after the show so you can get all that information. Once again, St. Francis Advocates. Thanks, Jay Peckham. See you, buddy. All right, well, let's talk esports. Now, I got to tell you, when I have this conversation, esports, and people go, video games? I'm like, yeah, and a whole lot more. It is a $1 billion industry currently, and is on track to be a trillion, that's with a T, $trillion industry. Local college students who here at Lambton College are part of the esports teams and the entrepreneurship and administration program. They're going to be on ESPN. That esports thing, let's talk to them. They're first we have, let's make sure we get everybody in here first. Hey, Aleister, how you doing? Are you there? I got no sound from you.
Can you hear me now?
Nah, there we go.
Kept my mic muted by accident. My bad.
Then let's Alexa thinks I'm talking to her. And there, Corbin, how are you?
Good. How are you, Dave?
Not too bad. Maybe tilt your camera down a little. And I don't know what's happened to Ryan. I got a black screen here now. So we can try to bring him in. He was there.
Hello?
But no.
No?
Ryan, I don't know if you can hear me, but maybe refresh and try to come back. In the meantime, well, there you go. Must be coming back. Guys, how you feeling? You got to be pretty excited about this.
I'll let Corbin start.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Good.
I'm very nervous to be competing.
You're nervous?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's my first real big event, so.
Yeah. Well, I guess, and of course, you're representing Lambton College, so you want to do your best to represent, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Ryan, thanks for joining us as well. We finally got you in here.
Hey.
Hey. Are you excited for this?
I'm excited. Yeah, we get to fly down to Texas, and it's all expenses paid. So I'm happy for that. And then I'm nervous about competing because there's a lot of stuff I need to improve on as a player, and I kind of just want to learn a lot when I'm out there.
Yeah. Well, let's tell everybody who might not quite understand what's happening here. So you guys were in a tournament, and you were able to qualify and get in there. And this is Street Fighter V, right? That you were playing.
Yep.
Yes.
Aleister, that's your game, right? Like I know talking to you before, like you've always been right into that Street Fighter.
I'm a fighting game person. Street Fighter just happens to be the fighting game right now, I guess.
Okay.
It has a monopoly on the market, so I'm like, oh, sure, I'll play this.
Right. Okay. So you guys have obviously got to be above average players because you're not just anybody. And Street Fighter's been around a long time, as you know, right?
Yeah, it's been around for quite some time, and I'd say we're
Yeah, there's been many iterations.
we're definitely probably the best players at Lambton College. So
Did I miss something, Aleister?
Don't worry about it.
he's just having a good time.
What are you guys sharing on your screens that I can't see?
We're not sharing anything. We're just kind of having a good
We're
time.
having a time.
Nothing wrong with
Having a good time.
It's a little surreal for all of us, I take it. We're like, we get out to this tournament, we place 5th, then it's all of a sudden, oh hey, we're 4th, and we're going out to Texas to compete and against all these really high level teams. It's a little mind-boggling for all of us, I'm pretty sure.
Well, and mind-boggling for you, but as you guys know, because we've talked about it, how when we say, oh, I'm taking that esports course, I'm just going to go play some video games and have some fun. And, people kind of go, what? Really? Basket weaving or whatever, But you guys know that it's way more than that. And this is a perfect example and a perfect opportunity for you guys to show and say, hey, this is a big deal out in this world. And you get to be a part of this.
Yeah, it's a lot of things are changing really quickly, and I feel like this, as you said, is probably the best representation of that ideal. It's everything's shifting, things are changing. We're getting esports is becoming bigger and bigger. It's going to become probably one of the more dominant industries for entertainment and on television at least. Yeah. And there's a lot of marketplace growth for it, and I feel like it should be something that people either start taking seriously or just should be at least considering it, keeping it in the back of their minds and understanding that there's a business behind it.
Well, and that's an important thing that you say as well, because as long as the right people take it seriously, not everybody is going to take it seriously, right? But obviously, even large corporations outside of gaming. I mean, we're seeing large celebrities who come into this world, basketball players, baseball players, music, rap artists, right? Drake, and there's a whole other new celebrity being created there. Is that where you guys want to go with this, or is anybody here you want to make a living on Twitch, or what are your goals with all of this?
Aleister, if you want to start.
Okay.
We'll head down the line on this one.
All right. I guess I've been in the industry playing tournaments now for about 8 years, and so I've had my fair share of doing all kinds of events like this. I've traveled to different places, but this is a big first for me, and I feel like this is kind of just cementing the fact that I've never really felt much connection to the more mainstream sort of job market, but then going into this, I'm looking into something like financial administration or an analyst sort of role, something like that, where I can sit there and I can work the numbers, because I love working with numbers and I love the documentation and all the boring stuff. Ryan can vouch for all the times that he'll sit there and be like, yeah, I don't want to do this. I'm like, okay, sure. Give me it. What are you looking for? Are you looking for a calendar? I'll throw that up. Do you need me to write a contract? Sure, done.
Yeah. Well, there's a real collaboration that happens there too, as you guys know. I mean, there's the production value, there's the in front of the camera stuff, there's the player. Like you say, there's the numbers, the marketing. It's a business, right? And you really do, for one person to do it on their own would just be overwhelming, right? So are you guys that team. Corbett, what about you? Where are you in all of this? Are you just a quiet one that does get a controller and let me play?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. Like, this is my first real big foray into Street Fighter itself, so
Yeah.
just kind of taking things as they go.
Yeah. So what do you guys, are you like mentally preparing yourself for this, or are you, I guess I say not rehearsing, but practicing? Is there a strategy involved in all of this, or do you just go out and play your best and that's it?
A little bit of both, I'd say. We have to figure out, like, the way the tournament goes is that it's different orders. So we all play in a different order, and as we get knocked out, then another person takes their place until all three of us are knocked out. So it's kind of determining, okay, who should be the person at the end, who should be the person leading the pack, who should be the person in the middle, and then, of course, playing our hearts out and doing our best to move forward and knock out the person in front, in the middle, and in the end.
So how do you come to those conclusions? Like, is a decision process there, and is one of you like the captain of the team, or
Aleister's captain?
And what did he do to deserve that role?
Well, he's
So-
beaten all of us.
The long and short of it is, like, generally the deciding order is based off of, like, who adapts the cleanest and whatnot, like who can take the most out of a match, right? Like, as an example, if I were to sit there and watch a game of Street Fighter, and you were sitting there watching a game of Street Fighter, and let's say that I had an event and you were playing against someone else, I could sit there and I could watch and pick up on all these habits just by watching you play.
Right.
I could see you put him in this situation, he started to do this, and therefore this is kind of a habit of his, and then it's just a systematic process of just eliminating all of that and burning it all out. And with respect to being captain, it actually came down to a pitch, I believe, that I made in late September, I think. And it was kind of funny because at first the team was just me for, like, up until a few weeks ago, actually. Because, like, there was no real collegiate support for it, and then ESPN out of nowhere is like, hey, look, guys, we're going to push Street Fighter 5. And so I approached the like organizer for the team, Tony, and I was like, hey, look, there's an online event. I don't expect us to go to the offlines. That's totally fine. But there's an online event. If I can get 2 people, then hypothetically, all we need to do is break top 4, and if we do, we're playing for $10,000 on TV. Let's do it. And he said, sure.
Yeah. We are. Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting to, when we talk about, people saying, oh, esports, and they're still not quite getting that. And when I say you just want those certain people to recognize it, really, for ESPN recognizing esports, I mean, I was out last week, I'll say it again, Brownstones, and I look up and there was, I think it was a Fortnite tournament or something, and it was on ESPN. So, I mean, if they're recognizing it as a sport and they're recognizing the financial opportunity, obviously, I mean, I think it's not going to take too much longer for other people to really recognize what's happening, especially, at Lambton College. It's you guys taking the course there. It's the first in all of Canada, right? So you guys are like the pioneers as well. If you look at where you are to setting the pace for maybe what comes next in that program, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're kind of, as our program coordinator Matt said several times, we're kind of the trailblazers here. We're going to our goal is to kind of establish ourselves and either change things entirely or just make something entirely different, like maybe new teams or new places where people can play and grow and stuff. I feel like some of us have a general idea on where we want to go in terms of like our future in esports, or if we're going to keep dedicating our time to it. I know I'm going to keep dedicating my time to it because as recently we've just started the Sarnia Smash series, which is the monthly tournament for Sarnia area. And yeah, I kind of want to keep doing events. I want to keep doing commentary, and I want to just keep figuring things out, starting new things, having fun with it, honestly.
It really gives you an opportunity to be endlessly creative, right? As far as, and then putting it out to, like, the whole world could be watching.
Mm-hmm.
But you're interesting. You brought that up. Your uniqueness about you is kind of like you want to be a commentator, right? Of esports, or in any in particular, or
Generally esports. I want to kind of like my fascination is with video games and not so much with sports. It's like, oh, in sports, it's like, oh, he throw ball in net, cool. But like, there's so much. I know there's a lot more going on to it than that. That's kind of that was a very underwhelming description, and I didn't do it any justice. But like for video games, I kind of understand the technical aspects and what makes a move good, what makes certain ideas good, what makes a strategy good, and I kind of like that, and I kind of just want to keep working on that front for the most part.
Yeah. Is it tough? Is this esports thing tough to do?
There's sorry,
it's not tough
Corbin,
to get to start, but
Corbin, let's hear
once
from
you
you.
start, there's a big grind to go through.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get your feet in the water, but to actually take the plunge and get to the top, it's a very big grind.
Yeah. What does it take?
a lot.
It's a lot of mental strain. It's a lot of mental strain. Sorry for interrupting, Ryan, if you want to finish your thought.
It's a lot of time. There's a bit of there's a monetary commitment as well, because you got to get appropriate controllers. You got to get the game itself that you want to compete in. There's a heavy investment to become like a really high level player, or like best in the world even. So it's a lot of time and a lot of money.
When you say investment, are you talking like financially or just sweat equity, like your own, like
both
just efforts?
It's both, honestly.
Yeah.
It's both, and it's a lot of mental.
Sorry, no, go ahead, Aleister. I didn't catch what you said.
It's both, and it's a lot of mental fatigue, because you're committing so much time and effort, and so you're consistently fighting with burnout. So from my experience, like, you have to find a way to balance it in a weird way where it's like you can't sit there and just play it for like 8 hours a day, because if you do, then all you're going to do is you're going to make it some sort of task that's at the end of the day you're going to hate. You're going to sit there and you're going to be going, why am I playing this? All I'm doing is making the same mistakes, or I'm doing the same thing, and I feel like I'm getting nowhere. But if you take that time and let's say you cut it in half and you kind of go an hour in, an hour off, or 2 hours in, an hour off, something like that, building that sense of variety, that creates a lot more of a healthy mindset about it, where you can kind of take your time to go into it and then pull out just enough as well.
Right. So how do you learn this? Like, how do you, like, YouTubing it, or just by doing it, or hanging around other players, or how do you teach? How does one learn how does one get into esports?
Corbin, if you want to give your 2 cents on this, you can go ahead.
Well, I would say first things first is you got to figure out what game you're most interested in, and start there. And then, like, there's a lot of resources now that we have the internet, where, back in the day, you couldn't just go on the internet and find all the certain tech and whatever you needed, but now everything's at your fingertips. You can just start grinding it out.
Yeah. Ryan, what about you?
It's like, to get into it, yeah, of course, as Corbin said, you have to find a game you're interested in. Then, depending on the game, there's going to be numbers, and you kind of have to learn the numbers. And then you have to learn abilities as well, what each character can do or can't do. And then there's things like counterplay. Then there's learning the mental game. And like the more you continue doing, like, competing at a higher and higher level, the more it becomes like psychology to a degree, because you're trying to break your opponent down in a mental game to a degree, because you understand everything, they understand everything. At that point, it's a battle of wits.
Right. Are you, Aleister, back to you, because I find it interesting. You say how you can watch something, and so you're the analyst of the team, it seems, as well. Like I remember, like back in my day in the 80s, you know, we learned patterns. You know, we'd watch when Street Fighter was around in the 80s. I finally just figured out the pattern, and I knew how to beat the big guy at the end and the opponents and whatnot. And typically, if I was playing an opponent, they were standing right beside me on the same console, right? So there were some predictions of patterns and stuff going there. Is that still in the game, or is it just the player that's the pattern, not just the game used to be the pattern?
It's a lot more understanding the player you're against. So, as an example, if I sit there and I'm playing as a character like Ryu, who has a fireball that you can put on the screen, if I throw that out there and I see my opponent doesn't jump over it and just keeps sitting there and blocking it, then that just lets me know I can move forward, because every time he blocks that fireball, that gives me forward space. That gives me the ability to walk forward. But from there, as the defender, if I see that he's throwing fireballs, that opens up different avenues, such as, okay, I can jump over it to get this on it, get this attack on him, and if I do that, that tells him not to do this. And then that starts reinforcing this mind game where you can start to create patterns as the defender or the attacker and set up stuff where it's like, okay, if he throws fireball and I jump, sometimes there'll be players that'll throw maybe 2 fireballs and they'll check if you'll jump, or there'll be players that will sit there and they just won't throw fireballs at all. Like Ryan can vouch from experience from all the times that I played him, and I would sit there and I'd throw fireballs at him in one game, and then the next game I would just completely cut him off so that he would be just clueless.
So there's a little bit of poker involved in this.
Yeah,
yes,
to a degree.
There's a lot of poker.
It's a lot of like tricking your opponent to a degree to like, please do, like, you're just kind of setting them up into the perfect scenario. It's like, do this one thing that I know you're going to do. And sometimes they'll do it, sometimes they won't. But if they do it, then it's just like perfect. I have prepared endlessly for this moment. And then you just kind of punish them as a result for committing to that one option.
There's a lot going on.
A lot of commit and switch.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, thank you. I've got to move on, but thank you so much for taking the time to join me here on the show.
Of course.
I'm so proud of all of you for doing this. You're representing Lambton College, and don't be too nervous. Just be you, and just go in there and kick some butt.
We'll try our best.
I don't think we can say the other word on TV.
Not on this show.
We'll do our best.
Right.
This show or on ESPN.
Yeah, there you go. We'll be watching, and we wish you all the best, guys. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks.
Exciting times for folks at Lambton College Esports. These young gentlemen that are going to go out there and represent on ESPN. Yes, folks, esports. Pay attention. And if you're not paying attention today, we'll get you the dates on when that's going to happen on ESPN. And, we'll maybe go down to Brownstones and watch it live down there. All right, I'm going to reach out to my next guest who's coming up here in just a moment. We're actually going to do a Facebook call, so just stand by here for a moment.
where the Duplessis government earlier in their tenure put a law on the books that had to do with it allowed the province to padlock any presence suspected of promoting communism or basically anything else they didn't like. And that, of course, ended up in the Supreme Court, and they sort of said you can't do that. And a number of other cases. Before he was Chief Justice, in the early 1930s, Parliament asked the Supreme Court, can we be the court of last resort in Canada? Because at that time, you could still appeal to the Privy Council in London if you didn't like the Supreme Court's answer.
I'm showing a picture here of him meeting Queen Elizabeth.
Yes, he met just about anybody there was to meet, because as Chief Justice, you go to those parties and dinners and all that.
Yeah. So what, you're coming to Sarnia this Thursday to talk about your book, Grace and Wisdom.
Yes.
What have you authored other books, or was this just you woke up one day and said, I want to write a book. I've been inspired about this and I want to share it.
Well, my mother was his eldest child, and she talked a lot about my grandfather throughout his life. He died when I was 8 years old. So, I only knew him when I was a child. And, as I mentioned before, to me, he was just granddad. But I decided to write it because my mother wouldn't. My mother, who lived to the age of 94, was a university teacher. She taught English for decades at Ottawa University. And I tried to talk her for years into doing it. And she kept saying, oh, it's too much work. It's too much trouble. I said, you know all the stories. It's too much trouble. And now I believe her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I decided somebody should capture this. And after my mother died, I thought, well, that's the last of her generation. If I don't do it, who's going to do it? So, but I've been a writer. I've written articles for newspapers here and there. I was in the music business. I wrote promotional stuff all the time, and filled out a lot of applications for funding.
Right. You're a good guy to have around then.
Yeah, well, and I also write short stories. I've had a few published in local papers in the Ottawa area where I am, but it's something I've always wanted to do, and it was a learning process, I must admit. I hired a couple of editors early on just to say, am I going in the right direction? And on that particular topic.
So how long did it take you to get this all together and say, okay, now we're putting it out there?
7 years.
Wow.
Mind you,
storytelling.
It wasn't, I wasn't working on it 40 or 60 hours a week. Some weeks I would, other weeks, my wife and I would be traveling, or I'd be, doing a contract somewhere else or producing an album. I'm a musician, so I still do that sort of thing. And it took quite a while. And what I really wanted to bring to the story was not only his, lofty achievements, but the person. This is what he was like. This is what it was like to be growing up in Sarnia in 1908, or 1898, I should say. And I took that theme to every phase of his life. Like when he went to Toronto to go to law school, he played piano for silent movies to make money.
Oh, wow.
But he couldn't tell anybody about it because a decent young man doesn't do that sort of thing,
Right. Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
And, you had to wear a suit everywhere you went. And a hat, of course, at different times. And when he came to Sarnia for his 68th birthday, and of course they feted him, and he usually showed up about once a year to see his sister Frances and meet up with his brother Vern, who was the head of the parole board in Detroit. Okay. They'd get together, but this time they had a big party, and he said, here we are. Is it the Keswick Gardens or Keswick? I don't have it right in front of me. But anyway, he said where he was giving the speech, he'd actually played a gig with Quinn's band 50 years before at the very same place. Kenwick. Kenway Gardens. It was torn down in the 60s.
Did you have the editing process of putting a book together? I would think one of the struggles would be what to leave out.
Well, exactly. I learned, I was humbled at times.
Yeah.
The publisher I went with, Petra Books, provided the editing, and I mean, my wife is a wonderful editor and all, and helped with some of the logistics. You know, put this here, put that there. Everything you say about the Governor General, put it in one place. But they were the ones who really helped shape it, and it was a long process, but it was very, very interesting.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to. It was Ron from the Sarnia Historical Society that put me in touch with you, and I know they're very excited to have you. Sarnia. There's a lot of historians here, and I think there's probably, I would put myself in the category of, I don't consider myself a historian, but I'm really interested in history, if that makes sense. And this is intriguing. You're going to be here Thursday, May the 9th at the Sarnia Legion, 7:00.
Yes.
And I'm guessing you'll have copies of the books for sale there as well?
I'll have copies of the book for sale, and I brought 2 or 3 pictures along that people might not have seen. And speaking of historians in Sarnia, Randy Evans helped me out with some of the research on the Sarnia end, locating certain residences or sending me very interesting things some of which I put in the book. But you're right, the editing process, not for the faint of heart.
So you're going to come talk to us and for a little while, and then I'm sure there'll be lots of conversation after the conversation.
Exactly, and I'm certainly open to any questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. Hopefully they won't be asking me about legal judgments and stuff. I mean, because I looked it up and read it, but I don't really, I'm not a lawyer.
I hear it. Well, I'm looking forward to. I'm hoping I can get down there and meet you and shake your hand and pick up a copy of the book from you as well. And this is also available on Amazon as well.
It's on Amazon, and if you go to chiefjusticekerwin.ca, you can buy it from my publisher, and it's a little less than going through Amazon.
Oh, okay, perfect. Perfect. We've got that up here on the screen. We've got the website up there. Stephen, I've got to run, but I thank you so much for taking. You're in Ottawa right now, are you?
Actually, I'm in Markham at my sister's. That's why I don't really have access to anything but my seemingly ancient iPad.
Well, we figured it out, so that's all that matters, and hopefully I can put the name to the face on Thursday night.
Thank you very much. I look forward to meeting you.
Thanks.
Okay, bye now.
Bye now. Author, we'll get him off there. There we go. You got to push through and make things work, right? Author Stephen McKenna coming to Sarnia Historical Society presentation at the Sarnia Legion this Thursday night at 7:00. Just come out and enjoy and pick up a copy of this. Grace and Wisdom, a story about his grandfather, 10th Chief Justice of Canada, Patrick Kerwin. Going to be a great read, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to having a copy from my librarian there. Check him out at chiefjusticekerwin.ca, or you can go to Amazon, or even better, come down here again to meet him in person. All right. Well, I want to say thanks to all of you for watching, and thank you to all of my guests that were here today. Jay Peckham making a grand entrance there, talking about St. Francis Advocates and their need for funds, like many organizations, and an opportunity to go out on June 21st and join in their 13th annual golf training. And we'll have that information after the show as well. And then my special guest from the Lambton College Esports team that is going down to Houston, Texas. It's a Street Fighter V tournament, and there's some other games as well, but they're playing Street Fighter V. And they're going to be on ESPN, folks. We're very proud of the students at the Lambton College who are part of the esports team there. And then, of course, we finally got Stephen McKenna, author, again, who's going to be here in Sarnia coming up this week. Wow, that was quite a show. I want to thank all of you for joining me and always coming back and checking things out. And if you're watching the replay, take the time to go through the whole program. It's fantastic. With all my guests today. That's all the time I got for you this week. Have a great week and an even better weekend. I will see you next time right here on the show. Bye for now.